Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. All right, that's a crazy delay. Anyway, what's up, everybody? And last night, if you guys were able to tune into the live or actually get an opportunity to kind of see it back, I went over the basics or the guidelines, little verbiage of a trust and what the setup is briefly for the most part. But today I got a question. It was a phenomenal question because the question I was asked was, can a trustee also be a beneficiary? Because I spoke about the executor and another portion of it, or the fiduciary, cannot be the beneficiary as well unless it's set up properly or done in a different manner. However, I also spoke about there being certain types of defenses and when is it available. Now, this question, I'm not sure where the person comes from. I'm going to ask that in a little bit. But it flipped it because, again, the verbiage is these are the things that we talk about. So when you're asking, can a trustee also be a beneficiary? That answer is yes, at the state level in California. Because what it is called a dual role, and it's commonly done in family trust, which is pretty much it entails the combination of a living will and all that good stuff, but it's try how can I say it? It's a tax advantage on certain, because if you live out in California, you know the taxes out there are crazy. But anyway, the benefits of it, there's a personal stake because the trustee has a vested interest in the trust's success, which leads to more diligent management. And that's one of the things I spoke about as well last night. The what do you call that? The what do you call that? The vested interest. And I actually used that in another scenario because whenever you're talking about the vested interest, and it but when I spoke about it last night, I put it in the context of the beneficiary having a vested interest. And the trustee may be familiar with the needs of the beneficiaries. So that's why it's generally family, because it's someone that's directly tied, like a parent or grandparent, that's going to actually make it more fluid, easy, less tax burdensome, and also less cost that's going to be assessed after transfers are needed. And it simplifies decision making because trust interests may align with all the beneficiaries. So this is one where it has multiple trust fund babies, as we've been talking about. But this is one of those caveats again. This is a tax strategy, and it's allowed in California at the state level. Now, there are other things. I keep referring to it as that because this is literally a state specific question. Now, can you do something similar to this in other states? Absolutely. But again, it's the verbiage and understanding how it's done properly. Because again, I gave you things last night which speaks about the what do you call that? The entities. Because it can be a person or an entity. So one of the biggest challenges that'll be kind of placed upon it, because remember I told you the trust itself, one of its biggest challenges will be debts and creditors. Well, this challenge for a family trust is just that, conflicts of interest, because a trustee may also act impartially and in the best interest of all beneficiaries. Now, when you have multiple people, just like if you have multiple children, there are going to be some, to be honest with you, you're going to have some that you are more invested in because you feel their decisions are being done in a more conducive manner to which you're looking for. So you may offer guidance more for one than another. That would be a conflict of interest. Now, just to give you an example, let's say you have one child that's an honor student and in med school and doing all the right things as you would like them to do. But then you have another child that's not quite as school savvy, is more of a hard learner. And they may be in a lifestyle that you're not happy with. This would, again, be that conflict of interest that could arise because the one child that's not being benefited in the manner in which they see they should be could challenge that. But again, it's depending on how it's written, and it also depends on how you understand how to protect that. Because again, it's still yours. You can do with it as you please. However, there's a means in doing it the right way. And again, most people don't understand that. And if you go and look at most of these people that are talking about trust online, on YouTube, on TikTok, and all, they're not talking about the challenges that may arise from the trust. They're not speaking in direct correlation to the actions of the trust. And most of these have no idea how to defend the trust in which they're speaking about, or even setting up, or even understand the context of the multiple or multitude of different trusts that are available to certain people in certain situations. Now, with the conflict of interest, you also have heightened responsibilities. The trustee must adhere to strict beneficiary duties. Now, I gave you, a caveat of them last night. I'll go over them again later, but at this point, it's just to bring awareness to it. And the biggest points are maintaining transparency, following the terms of the trust carefully, seeking professional advice, because a lot of times, just like any doctor, you don't want the doctor that has feelings for a patient to operate on that patient, because they may do something that's in their best interest and not necessarily the wishes of the patient. So you want to seek outside advice. And like I always speak of myself, if you're looking to me, you're getting an out-of-town shooter, someone that's not tied to the other aspects of these, even with the challenges. And you want to keep clear records of decisions and their reasonings. Because again, like I said, you may have one that's doing this when you have multiple beneficiaries and one that's doing that. And again, you still have a vested interest in it. And there are a couple corporations that set these up in which the light of them came back unpleasantly, let's say that for the least. And what happens is they start to get a bad look, and most people don't trust them. Don't trust the trust because of how they're set up and how they're managed. Because I hate to bring one up, but one of the most obvious ones is the ideals that were set up with the organization of Black Lives Matter. The founders that were fiduciaries in this trust that was set up were living exponentially well or better than the beneficiaries that they were supposed to be offering assistance to and making these decisions for. Their records were not clean, and the reasons for doing the things they did were unreasonable, and it created a huge conflict of interest. Now, you also want to inform all beneficiaries of decisions and actions. Again, that organization did not do those things, which is why it was scrutinized the way it was. And consider appointing co-trustees or independent trustees. Because again, if you are acting as a trustee as well as a beneficiary, you have a vested interest, and thus human nature can also kick in, which can cause conflict of interest, which open up the door for challenges. And these are the things which should be acknowledged and also helped you in guiding to stay away from. So I hope that answers this person's question. I appreciate all the questions. If you're looking for the assistance, holler at me. greatest now at yahoo.com, and we can keep it going. We can keep it rolling, because my whole point is to make sure we keep growing as a unit. So on to the next. I'm going to be uploading a couple videos. I'm going to be coming on again tonight, like I told you guys, where I'm going to speak about the illegal searches and seizures on the side of the road and to combat that. So I'll see you guys probably in about 8 hours. Supreme, I'm out.